Thank you for tuning in to Gain and Glow, a feel-good lifestyle podcast with me, Vanessa.
And me, Crystal.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Welcome to another episode of Gain and Glow.
Woo! We made it.
We made it.
Episode 3?
No, this is episode 4.
Yeah, you're right.
We're already on episode 4. Woo! So this episode, I'm very excited. Today, actually, as we record right now, I am waiting on my new bag base for my new kickboxing bag.
Yeah!
Do 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 do.
You gotta get set up in your home gym.
I am so excited. Yes, I am setting up a home gym space. I finally decided that the best way to keep myself from making excuses and to keep myself accountable and stay on top of my workouts is to create a gym space at home as well, so I can't use some of my common excuses. Like, one of the number one things that I'll do, because I normally work out so early in the morning, and I'm also not a perfect person, obviously. Some nights I stay up far too late binging Netflix, and then I oversleep the next day, completely out of my control, or I wake up like right at the time I'm supposed to be out the door, and I don't really care to scurry out the door, so I'll use that as an excuse and be like, oh, well, I can't go work out this morning. And then afternoon workouts don't typically work for me because I have a child at home who gets home from school or who is home at that point. And so then I'm like, oh, well, I can't go work out in the afternoon because she's home. So I guess like today I'm just going to skip today.
Yeah, it's too much. It's just too much.
It's just, like I have to go all the way to the gym. But now
anywhere.
Yes. Now I won't have to go anywhere. I can get my fitness from home. And while I was like ordering the bag, I got the opportunity to order a bag that's legitimately from my gym. It's one of their old bags. They upgraded to new ones. So I got a legit bag and I got a legit base. So I was thinking to myself, what other possibilities do I have now to add to that?
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if it's just me, but I subscribe to FabFitFun, and then I also signed up for this weight loss like program thing through my health insurance. And then I did something else. I think it was like a Groupon package of like resistance bands. But over the span of like 3 to 5 years, I've amassed literally every resistance band. And like, I mean, dumbbells. Yeah, I have all of
jump
these.
Rope.
Yes. Oh yes, I got a jump rope, a legit. I think it's like a Venus Williams or Serena Williams jump rope from FabFitFun. So I've amassed all of this stuff, and I was like, oh, I could make a legitimate workout space. So obviously, I went on the internet, and I was like, create an at-home workout space, right? Google, Pinterest.
Go
Yeah.
Google. Tell me what to do.
And I found a few tips that I actually thought were super helpful. So I wanted to talk about that today.
Lay it on me.
Boom.
What we got? What do I do, Vanessa? How do I set up my at-home gym?
So the very first thing is, first and foremost, don't let money be your obstacle. Don't let money be your excuse to not do it or a reason why you think you cannot do it. That was a huge thing in the past. I was like, well, I don't really want to invest the money into having a whole space converted into a little mini gym. And in reality, gyms in their fancy equipment and all of that are nice, but you don't necessarily have to go out and get a kickboxing bag or a treadmill or a Peloton bike or whatever. You don't have to spend, $4,500 to have an at-home gym. So the number one tool is don't let money get in your way. You can create weights and workouts out of pretty much anything you have laying around the house. One of my instructors actually at my studio, they've been providing a lot more live videos and a lot more virtual coaching right now. And one of the things they actually said the other day when I was streaming one of their classes, and it made me giggle, but then I thought it's brilliant. She was talking about cans of beans, using cans of beans as your weights. So if you're doing, let's say, a shadow boxing round, you can hold those cans of beans while you're shadow boxing, especially if you don't have weighted gloves, like gloves that are, I think, 16 ounces or whatever. You can hold those cans of beans and you get a similar resistance, and even just the slightest bit of weight to them allows you to start really building muscle through that shadow boxing. Another thing I saw, people take water jugs and fill them completely up with water. And you can actually alter a water jug's weight by lessening or increasing the amount of water you put in it, which it's like, duh, right? But you can make a water jug a weight for your little at-home gym space. So
I would imagine too, like if you had like a gallon of water and it was only filled halfway, it like the weird resistance of it sloshing like might even help you improve your form. Because if you're like doing like bent over rows, you're like, I don't want, those things are sloshing, like shouldn't be sloshing. They should be angling down. And like the more they slosh, the more it's like you're testing your muscle tension.
That's actually, like,
oh God.
That's a really good point. You're like, oh no.
I just imagine someone trying to like squat holding a gallon and it's just like holding the bottom of it, just like shaking.
You know what? That's a really good point. There is that like that, I guess, that reminder to maintain your core and your balance and your form, because you can definitely tell if it's off. That's a good point. If nothing else, it's even better than a regular weight.
Right? And I think having something in your hands, like for like shadow boxing, like you don't think about, no one normally like punches 100 times, but then if you're like to hold something and punch, it's like you're trying to carry groceries like up and down the stairs. Mm-hmm. Like you know the difference between not having anything in your hands and having something in your hands. It's like,
exactly.
And so it's really, I mean, if you don't have weights, it's like there's so many like body weight exercises, and then there's so many like household things that you could lift and twist with and punch with and stuff. So there's really no excuse on not doing something at home.
Yeah, and that's the number one thing about creating an at-home workout space is, first and foremost, don't let having to buy equipment or getting things stop you. And that's something, honestly, that's what I did. I recently had to like be at home more and be more creative with my fitness, and I put off quite a few days in a row basically waiting for this base for, oh my god, could I say the word base anymore? I was waiting for my bag base to come in the mail and get it ordered and stuff, and I used not having it as an excuse to not work out at all, when in reality I very well could have modified and done it. And then actually the last few days, because I've just gotten so impatient, I rigged my bag up with weights. I weighted the bottom of the bag. It's not quite as tall as it should be because the base gives it more height, but I rigged it up so it would stay in place, and I used it. I've used it. I've had to go a little bit lighter on my kicks, but
we have to do like a before and after picture of your bag, because it looks like a Coca-Cola bottle because it's flipped upside down, because the like cone shaped part is supposed to go on the base.
Yeah, the cone shaped part is supposed to like plug into the base, so it like goes into a hole. Yeah, upside down, it looks like a Coke bottle. It really does.
Yeah,
and it's definitely not tall enough. Like I can't do head hooks or higher punches on the bag, obviously, because it's not tall enough. But thankfully, I'm not very tall. I'm like an average height person, so it still works for a lot. But
yeah, and that's good for you, because I mean, I've gone to those kickboxing classes and I love them because there's someone there to push you, and they're like watching you, and so you're like, well, I can't stop, like I gotta keep going. So to like have to modify to like work on a bag that is just leaning on a wall so that you can still like hit something, and you did it. You did it. That's awesome.
You know, I think too, that's why it's so important that no matter what people's goals are, or like whether you're trying to lose weight or you're just trying to find something to do to keep you positive or keep you busy, I think fitness belongs in everybody's life. I truly believe that. But it's so important, obviously, to find something that you truly enjoy to do. Mm-hmm. Because for me, when I went into it thinking like, oh, no one's watching me. I felt less accountable. I consciously was like, yeah, like I'm doing this on my own accord. I'm doing what I want to do. But I loved it. I love it so much that I get into the class and I love my instructors and I love the whole process of the way the classes progress that I didn't want to give up. I wanted, like, I my very first home workout, I burnt more calories, active calories, than I do in a regular kickboxing session. So, dang, girl. Yeah.
Pushing yourself without other people there.
Yes.
You probably felt like, oh, I need to keep going because, like, this is what I would do if I was there, and then pushed yourself harder than you thought.
Yes. Yes. But, and so important. So important to find stuff you love. And that's another thing with creating your at-home gym space is making use of what you have, acquiring equipment if you can. I mean, there's so many good places. Century Martial Arts. This is not an ad. They do not know I'm mentioning them.
I don't know we exist.
Yeah, they have no idea who we are. That's who I ordered my bag base from, and I have to say, I'm not sure what other type of equipment they sell other than like bags and stuff, but the customer service girl was like amazing. She was amazing. I called, they were sold out of the bag bases, and I could only get that specific one from them. They're the only vendors that I could find that sell it. And so when I got off the phone with her, it was pretty much like, well, just keep checking the website. If you see them come back in stock, order it right away. Then about, 5-10 minutes later, she called me back and she has searched and found a base. Yes, she said that after our phone call, she went looking and she was able to find like 42 bases. What? Just in a different department or something. And so she totally came through for me without me even needing to ask her anything. I was just like, oh, well, I'm host. I gotta figure something else out. Yes.
Just like took it upon herself to like double check and see if there's anything she could do. That's awesome.
So if anybody is listening to us, and you do want to go find equipment, I would highly, highly, highly recommend Century Martial Arts, especially if you want to try to give kickboxing a go or even boxing. Again, though, I don't know all the equipment they have. But another
they have a website.
Visit the website. It's going to give you way more information than I am. I can vouch for their customer service, though. They're amazing. But also, when you're creating your at-home gym space, do find an area that will give you a sense of connectedness to your workout and disconnection from your home. So it's important to find a spot in your area, anywhere, no matter how big it is or how small it is. Find a spot in your area where you can convert that into your inspiration station. Make it, like, even if it's just a corner in your house where you stack your weights or your makeshift weights or whatever, hang your resistance bands with some command hooks. If you have a puppy at home like I do, put them in a cute bin and then high up on a shelf in that area. But definitely find a space in your home where you can create a sense of escape, where you can try new things, where you can feel comfortable, and where you will be encouraged to push yourself. So you're not limiting yourself due to not having that designated area, and get in your headspace. Find a space where you can change your headspace in that area. Really switch over into workout mode. Get the most out of your workout, and do that by designating that area.
Yeah,
so important.
I know I like to put on my outfit, my whole workout outfit, like I'm going out in public, and and then turn up my music, or put on my headphones if I can't be blasting my music, and then just do something. Like the other day, I hadn't worked out in I don't know, more days than I want to admit, a week maybe, and I was like, all right, just roll your shoulders, stretch your neck, do some hip circles and stuff, and then just do 10 squats.
Yeah.
And then just decide what else to do. And then I was like, okay, well, all right, that was easy. I'll do another 10, and then maybe I'll do some lunges, and then maybe and I was all by myself. I had my headphones on, and you just get in a groove. And I think the most important thing is just to get started, especially when you're at home and you have so many things you can distract yourself with. But I think having a space and having, just getting yourself in that headspace. This is what I'm doing, and I'm doing it for me. And then, anytime you work out, I don't even care how long it is, you feel better after.
Yes.
You get a rush of endorphins. You feel accomplished. Your blood is flowing through your body, everywhere, so your body feels more awake.
Yes.
Which is important, especially if you sit a lot during the day.
Yeah, if you're desk bound. If you work at a computer for any longer than an hour at a time, working out will do wonders for you. It will do wonders. And when you have that space created and you have your equipment there and you have it set up, it's super important to maintain the organization and the cleanliness in that area.
Definitely.
Putting your weights away, hanging your resistance bands back up, or putting them back in your bin, or whatever. Cleaning up after yourself. It's funny because it sounds so mommy and preachy for me to say that, but it is so easy to not do that part of it. It's so easy to just walk away from your workout equipment with your yoga mat out, not wiped down, with your weights all strewn, because you're at your place. And if it's not your habit yet to use your equipment and immediately put it away, you may find that your messy area causes you to be less inspired as well.
Definitely. You're cool, I'm done working out, walk away, come back in, you're ugh, look at this mess, I have to put this back, and then there's all this other stuff, and you're if you would have just took extra 30 seconds while you're cooling down to push that shit in the corner, step in the corner, then
And a huge thing too, and one of the things that I've had to remain mindful of, because I work out at the kickboxing gym, my process is to get my workout in, and then throw my gloves in a bag, and then head out to what I'm doing next. And then maybe later in the day, I'll pull my gloves out of that bag, give them a spray with my antibacterial spray, and then throw them in the closet. That's kind of the extent of my cleanup for my workout when I work out outside of the house. But when I work out inside of the house, I roll my yoga mat out, so I'm using that, and then I've got the bag here, I'm using that, and then I've got my gloves and my wraps and all that stuff. I have to make a conscious effort to spray my gloves out, air my wraps, hang them somewhere here to air out, then spray my mat down and my bag, give them a quick wipe, and then let them air dry out. So I've made that now a part of my workout process. And like you said, when I'm cooling down after I've finished my stretches and I'm getting ready to be done, I just make it part of my process to spray stuff down and oh, Crystal.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We're trying to, keep our distance and record this through the phone. And my phone was like, oh, hey, you're going to die. And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
You were fine a couple hours ago.
For all of our 8 listeners, we are recording remote. We're trying something new. I'm sure if you've listened to any of our other episodes, it sounds a little bit different. But you know, we do what we gotta do.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna keep talking. You can't stop us.
Yes. You cannot stop us from talking. These are the things that we believe in here. We want you to know. But it's a real struggle to maintain your fitness when you're at home, especially because I'm hoping that everybody does this, but I focus deeply on creating a comfortable relax zone throughout my entire home space. That's kind of not conducive with also maintaining an active fitness life. So creating that little spot in your home that is disconnected from that very relaxed feeling is super important in staying inspired. Keeping that spot clean, picked up, organized, and then making use of what you have. What you have around the house is totally adequate. It just takes some creativity and some want. You just have to want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, force yourself to do it for 21 days straight, and I promise you that you will create a habit.
Yeah, like you don't even need a certain time frame. Like just get started.
Yep, just do it.
See what you do.
Just do
and then the next day just do a little bit more.
Yep. Yep.
Just build upon it.
Just keep building.
So what do you do to like help clean all your stuff at the end of the day besides like your do you like wipe down your weights or like your mat, or you know, do you just do like a water towel thing, or do you spray your mat like with your glove spray and stuff?
So I'm glad that you asked. So my bag I spray down and I wipe with a dry paper towel, and I spray it with my Acti 3 antibacterial spray, which is an equipment spray used for helmets and gloves and workout equipment. So my Acti 3 antibacterial spray, I purchased it from my gym. I use that on everything. My bag, I give it a spritz with the spray, like 2 light spritzes, and then I wipe the whole thing with the dry paper towel. My gloves I spray inside and I let them just air dry. But my yoga mat actually, and the weights, I just spray them down too and let them, give them a wipe with the dry cloth. But my yoga mat, it does require a little bit more care. And it's actually something that I used to do yoga every single morning back before I had my daughter, like religiously. I did it at 5 a.m. every day. I woke up and I followed this video that came on cable TV, and it was called Namaste Yoga, and it was so amazing, and I've never found a yoga practice that I've loved as much as that. But I went like 5 or 6 years without doing yoga, and I got different mats over time. And the latest one that I got, it's like a travel one. It's very thin. You can pack it anywhere. And I noticed that it was really, really, really slippery. So I tried to clean it with just the water and the towel. I tried to do the soaking with the soap and the warm water in the tub. There's a few different ways you can care for your yoga mat. The best thing to do with a very brand new yoga mat is to put it in a tub of warm water and like a Dr. Myers or one of those really light, like good for sensitive skin type soaps, non-abrasive soaps, just a little bit, and then just give it like a warm bubble bath. And what it'll do is it'll clean off any oils or residue, because your yoga mat is actually supposed to be slightly tacky. And that's something that I didn't know before. Even when I did yoga every single day, I was like, my yoga mat's awesome. I just so happen to have like this awesome yoga mat. And then over the years, I've never found a good yoga practice or mat like since. But giving it a warm bubble bath, the very first time I like got it before I was going to use it, and then letting it air dry, and then doing that once every 2 weeks. But after every use, I spray it down with my Acti 3 spray, and I wipe it, and then I give it a quick like extra mist, and then I let it just dry on the mat. So for the yoga mat, that's how I care for mine in a consistent basis. But then I went searching to see, like, am I using this thing correctly? Because I don't know. I don't know what a yoga mat is supposed to be like and how you know, care for, other than all of those things that I've looked up. So I went searching further. And I found that if you are struggling with, even with washing it and all of that and wiping it down, if you're struggling with it being really slippery, you can actually sprinkle it with a little bit of baby powder and then, like, wipe it with a dry cloth so you're kind of dispersing the baby powder around, and it'll reduce the slipperiness.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, you can also, I have not tried this, but I did read, you can get yoga socks, obviously, for yoga mats, but you can also get a yoga towel. It's like a super absorbent towel, and it's very thin. You can lay it down on your yoga mat and then spritz it with a little bit of water so it gets a little bit damp, and that will help maintain resistance as well.
Oh.
Yes.
That's good to know. I have a yoga mat, and I think I use it once or twice a year. So
it's probably very clean.
So yeah, I haven't done much to clean it besides like wipe it down with like a soapy, watery rag. And after I'm like, oh, I've used it a couple of days in a row, I'm gonna clean it.
Yes. You should definitely clean your yoga mat after every use.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the spray that I have, because it's so convenient. It is so convenient. And especially when it comes to like fitness or cooking, things that I don't like to do a lot of effort into other than the actual like workout or whatever, but my prep and my breakdown and stuff after my fitness, I don't like a lot of steps. Obviously, I'm busy. And I know that's not an excuse, but
what was that spray called again?
It is called, let me pull the bottle down just to be sure. Okay. Oh, Anti-3. Anti-3.
Anti, like A-N-T-I?
Yep, A-N-T-I and the number 3.
Oh.
So it's a disinfectant deodorizing equipment spray. It cleans, deodorizes, and disinfects. And it kills 99% of bacteria and viruses.
Cool.
So it's really, really, really good to use on, like I said, helmets, gloves, weights, yoga mats, your gym bag. If you have a treadmill or a bike at home, like a...
Yeah, you gotta wipe that stuff down too.
Yes, every single thing that you have in your home gym, you should be wiping it down. And at first it seems like nonsense to have to wipe it down after every use because you're the only person touching it, or in theory maybe a few of your family members. But what people don't understand is that bacteria breeds in liquids and porous surfaces, and so although it was just you touching it and you might not be sick or you might be clean when you start your workout, that bacteria can still breed in that surface, and you can still have a contamination on your equipment even if you're the only one touching it. And and
that stuff builds up over time too.
Yes.
So it's like a week down the road, like if you didn't wipe down your yoga mat you used 2 times in a row and you just left it, it's not gonna smell good when you unroll it.
And that's a huge thing. People
it's not gonna feel right.
No.
Gross.
And you have to understand, if you can smell your equipment and it smells
that's
like anything other than its original like rubbery type smell, that's bacteria. What you're smelling is bacteria. and you don't want that.
No.
So for yoga mats specifically, definitely advise, and I use my yoga mat not even necessarily just for yoga. I use my yoga mat for my HIIT rounds when I'm doing my kickboxing, because we do a 15-minute HIIT round, high intensity interval training, not hitting things. That's
and you're doing like burpees and planks and
and sit-ups, and so I like to use my yoga mat for that too, which means also my feet are all over it too. I'm walking all over it, so I definitely like to clean it down very well.
And I think, like, having a yoga mat helps too when you're at home to have it. Like, that's like your clean space that
Mhm.
you're working on. Like, you're not worrying about, like, a dirty floor or dirty carpet. It's like, I'm on the yoga mat.
Yep.
Like, I know what I'm touching. Everything I'm touching is clean.
Yes. And it's even more important to maintain your cleanliness if you have kids at home, because I think it's so important to incorporate your children in your at-home workouts, or include them in the usage of the space. Some people don't like working out with their kids, and that's fine. I definitely wouldn't kickbox with my kid at this point in time.
Don't want her to catch one of those, right?
Yeah, that's going to be hard to explain. And she's 8, so her attention span is short. And that's actually something I've been looking a lot into as well, is staying fit with your kids.
Yeah.
And I
think, especially like when we have so much time at home and then you have a home gym and that's what you're going to be using primarily, it's like they're going to want to hang out with you. They're going to, and I think, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, as they say. And I think kids, it's like they're just little sponges. They just want to do what you do and be like you.
And especially during times like spring break, which a lot of people have kids at home during spring break or summer vacation.
Spring break!
Yeah, and these kids are home all day long without recess.
And
they're wild.
Spring breakers.
Oh, I mean, we all know what spring break is like. But I think that having them on some sort of physical fitness routine at home is so important. And keeping your equipment clean is important if you're going to have your children touching that equipment.
Yeah.
Kids are gross. I'm going to say it. I'm not trying to be mean. Also, you don't want to contribute to how gross their hands are by having them touch disgusting equipment. And I think it's really important when you're working out with your kids at home, which I wanted to bring this up too, because it's something that, I'm a parent, and it's something that I have to incorporate my child into my fitness, so my care for her doesn't become an excuse to avoid my fitness. Because again, it's another really convenient excuse to say I can't work out today because my kid's home all day, or I have to keep her busy, so I'm too busy keeping her busy to do anything. But if you can incorporate some kind of simple routine, I found a couple of tips that I wanted to share in case anybody listens that does have kids. I have 3 tips that I wanted to share, that these are things that I personally have found and I would recommend to others through trial and error on our end. Number 1 is teach your kid through the fitness. It seems silly, but when I'm instructing Emery, my daughter, to do whatever it is, burpees or squats or whatever, I'm also explaining to her why. Why do we do this? What muscles are we targeting? What benefit could this have? Releasing endorphins. I'm talking to her about why we do that exercise, and I'm talking to her about the areas that it affects for 2 reasons, really. Reason number 1 is because then she understands why I'm telling her to do that. She's very much an analytical child who wants to know, I get why you say that, but why should I do it? So if I'm it releases endorphins, which makes us feel good, which will then get us pumped to go do, our treasure hunt or whatever, it helps keep her focus on the benefits of it, which will help her start to focus her mind on the benefits of fitness in general, and it'll help her work through whatever resistance she might be feeling, like a tight muscle or something like that, because I think people think children are unlimited as far as their energy and to us it's like, oh, they don't get sore, they don't burn out their muscles because they're young, and that's actually not the case. She had to do wall sits at school for this fitness week thing, and she legitimately had very sore thighs for 2 days, and I could tell she had leg day. She was limping from leg day. So that's another reason why I explained to her what muscles we're trying to focus on, so she knows if she's feeling discomfort in those muscles, that's the point, and that it's not something to be worried about. You know, kids only know what we teach them. And while you're working out, if you're teaching them about which muscles they're targeting, teaching them, you know, it should feel a little uncomfortable, but if it starts to hurt, you have to pull back. Teaching them that kind of restraint and that common sense, what we think is common sense stuff in the beginning, will allow them to have a healthier, more productive fitness life. And it'll help them know how to push themselves and where. And I've found that it's been really successful for me to keep her engaged and teach her while we're working out together.
Yeah.
And it's also part of my tip number 2 is being realistic with their attention spans.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
the biggest frustration of working out with a child, whether it's yours or somebody else's, is their inability to stay focused. As an adult and as somebody who does it on a consistent basis, doing a 15-minute hit round for me is like, that's normal. 15 minutes of anything for a kid is a struggle. Even a minute is a struggle. So if you're talking to them constantly through the workout and you're explaining the workout and explaining what should be going on and all of that, you're keeping it realistic and you're keeping their attention. And you should also be changing it up often, keeping in mind that they can only do one thing for so long before they're going to get bored. And if they get bored and start dawdling and start not paying attention, it could get very frustrating for you. So be realistic with their attention spans. They're not very long. And then, of course, the third tip is keep it simple. Do something simple.
Yeah, my nephew, I like to call him baby roommate, because he's almost 2. Since everyone's home, his parents have been like stretching in the living room, and the other day they have him like try and do stretches, and I guess there's I'm sure there's lots of videos out there, but there's baby yoga where they like teach them how to do stretches that are like animals. And so, you do the butterfly stretch, you put your feet together and your knees stick out and stuff. I came down and I just sat on the ground just to play with him, and then he comes up and he sits down and he sits in the butterfly stretch, and then he points at me so that I do it. It's so cute. And I'm like, look at you. You've only been stretching like a couple days, and I'm sure only for a few seconds at a time, but it like sticks with them, and they want to do it, and they want to keep doing it, and it's like, it's good for them, and at such a young age it's entertaining for them, and especially when you do something that they do, it's so cool.
and it's so important. It's one of the greatest investments in their future too, because kids only know what we teach them. We only know what we've learned. I mean, we're not born knowing how to do the butterfly stretch or knowing how beneficial it can actually be. And starting him off so young is such a good idea, because it sticks quicker too, because to him, that's fun. Now it's like a game he can play with everybody.
And just like reading the same like bedtime story, it's like it becomes part of your routine, and then you get to be able to do those things longer and more often with your kid, and then when your kid wants to do it and you don't really want to do it, you're gonna do it.
Yes. And I can vouch, there is no accountability buddy like a child who you've made a promise to. They will not let you forget.
Ever.
When I plan to do a workout with Emery and I tell her, that is the number one person that will remind me for the rest of that day. There is no skipping that day. She wouldn't let me. It would not happen. But yeah, building routines and staying on a routine. A huge part about having a gym space at home too, and fitting it in with your children being around and taking proper care of it. All of that is such a crucial part in maintaining a good routine. When you're home, it's really easy to kind of, I like to say time is a man-made construct. I say it all the time. And when you're home, there's less of an influence as far as time goes.
There is no time.
There is no time unless you create that structure. And in reality, time was created and discovered and structured and implemented the way it is to keep structure. That's what it's. That's sole purpose is keeping structure.
We all know when the bank's going to be open and when people are going to be in the offices to take your phone calls. And
Exactly. And structure like that creates consistency, and consistency creates reliability. And keeping structure while you're at home and not letting yourself dissipate into the timeless freedom and relaxation, which you definitely should. You should definitely melt away and ignore time every now and then. But maintaining that fitness routine, though, will help you keep structure that's necessary. I've said it so many times this week. The only reason I've showered, I've been working remote and at home a lot. The only reason I've showered is because I've worked out. That's the only reason I take a shower.
I've been when we were working in the office, it was like we would always take our 15-minute breaks to take a lap around outside and get some fresh air and get some sunshine, and in the great P and Dubs, there's sprinkles of sunshine.
Yeah.
So it's like so important to get out there when it's there and not pouring rain. And it feels so good. It feels so good to like get out, just to get outside and get some fresh air and stuff. And taking those breaks, like I started taking those breaks at home, and I was walking my dog and taking my husband with me, and my dog doesn't like to go on walks. He's like, I want to go to the mailbox and come back. And I'm like, what kind of dog are you? I don't know. But like those like made me feel so good. And this week, I think the weather's like, it's overcast and it's rainy, but it's not like terrible. I only went out once, and then when I didn't realize how it was impacting my mood until I went out, and I was like, this is so nice. I feel so much better. Like it especially with, if you're inside and you're in a certain room for a long period of time, it's like you kind of don't notice how the day is progressing and how time is changing and stuff, and you get so wrapped up in like what you're focusing on that it's important to take minutes for yourself to take a break, or get some fresh air, or get some water, or call your friend and like take a break. Take a break from whatever you're doing, or else it just feels like that's all you're doing ever. And especially when you do it multiple days in a row, it's like it gets depressing, and it's like, we don't need that.
No,
we don't need that negativity in our lives.
No way. And it goes beyond fitness, even. I mean, obviously, I'm all about like getting a workout in. It changes my mood. It helps me with feeling depressed and falling into some darker headspaces when I'm cooped up and all that. But there's other ways to take that break too, mentally.
Yeah.
And like being creative.
Yeah, definitely. Let's poke my eye. I like to be creative.
Do you?
It's funny you mention it. So like when I'm at home and I'm working from home and it's glorious outside, I'm outside. I'm taking my lunch walk. I'm taking my break walk. But when I'm inside and there's not like a whole lot I can do outside, or I don't want to go outside, then I try to use that energy to do something creative. And like whether it's reading or drawing or painting or doing makeup, or even like cleaning, like organizing. For me, it's like organizing my space helps with my creativity. Like if I had all my markers and colored pencils in like different areas and in different rooms, and I just got frustrated at the thought of starting a project because all of my supplies are all over the place. And so it's kind of funny that like it's the same thing with gym equipment. Like you go to a gym because you know it's all there. Mm-hmm. And that's all you can do there. So that's what I try to do at home too. So like I have all my color pencils in a container, and then I have all my markers in a container, and I have a cup full of like pencils, erasers, and pens, and then I have my sketchbooks right next to them, and then I'll just take a minute and just draw for 10 minutes. And I think a lot of times for me it's hard to get started. It's hard to get started just to work out. Like it's hard to get started to start a project because I want it to be perfect, and I just start thinking about it and overthinking about it and not doing anything. I mean, that's just me. No, I'm just kidding. I know a lot of people are like that. I think
it's amazing how easy it is to like stop yourself from doing something by thinking about all the obstacles you have in that project or in that goal or whatever.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because it's like I started watching videos about artists on YouTube recently just to like get some perspective into how artists think and like how their days go and all this stuff, because I never considered myself much of an artist. Kind of funny until my husband bought watercolors, and I was like, I'm just gonna mess with this because that sounds fun, and then I got really into it.
And you were so good. The very first time you showed me one of your watercolors, I was blown away. I'm like, oh, you just picked them up and decided to do this? It was so good.
Thank you. And it really discouraged my husband from doing it as well. Like he was like, how are you so good at this? I'm like, honestly, I didn't go into it thinking about it. I just started. I just did it. And I started watching little videos on how to move your brush and how to like put a certain amount of water on and blend your colors and all that stuff. And I just started. And I started getting good. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I can see my progress. And that's what I feel like it's a hard thing to see sometimes when you work out. You're like, okay, I feel tired and sore every day, but where's my progress? And it's slow. It's a slow process. Like even creativity is a slow process, and I think it really aligns with like our mental and physical health are so important and so aligned. And one artist that I watched on YouTube, his name's Struthless. It's like truthless with an S. He was talking about this. His video is literally called the advice that changed my life, and I'm like, okay, clickbait, like
yeah, exactly.
Click. And he was studying under an artist named Mark Shatner, and like him and his wife only make dog and bunny sculptures. That's all they do. That's it. And guess what? They're great at it. And he gave Struthless some advice and said, draw the same thing every day for a year, and then we'll talk about it. And he was like, so I picked something to draw every day, and by the end of the week, I was so done. I was so bored of drawing the same thing. And he goes, and then something clicked, and I realized that it's not about drawing the same thing every day. It's about, like, putting the practice in every day. It's getting you started. It's getting you started so that you can find your style and find your voice, find what you like doing and what you don't like doing. And he eventually developed those into like little comics where he decided to draw different characters, and then he started creating this whole type of art that was like unique to him. And I think we focus so hard on but the perfectness we want to create, and not about like the process. And the process is what's the most important part. It's getting started. Put in that pen to paper.
in the Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu, which is a Taoist belief system, I guess, written out. One of the main quotes that I always like to flip to and read over and over and over and over again is, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. And it sounds like something you'd print on a t-shirt or something, but it's important to understand that the word, the term, and the meaning happiness is interchangeable. There is no way to being fit. Fitness is the way. There is no way to being artistic. Being artistic is the way. It's all about the process of getting there and enjoying the ride, because that's actually that's where the real magic is happening. And if you're so focused on just the end goal and you're not living that process and getting through that process, you're not actually sparking your inspiration. You're not actually snowballing your ideas and letting it build and build and build and build. You're just trying to hammer through. It's like water trying to move through a rock instead of just going around it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we get so caught up with all of our thoughts. Like, we have so many thoughts, and it's funny because you don't even think about how many thoughts you have until you're trying to meditate.
Yes.
And you're like, why am I thinking about this interaction from 3rd grade, or
right,
with that person, how they looked at me in the grocery store? Like, I don't even remember remembering that, and here I am thinking about it in a moment of silence. And it really, putting your focus into one thing is the best way to get started and to help find your way. Like with your home workout, you have a jump rope, you have whatever. Like, you can jump rope every day until you get your bag base, and it's like, maybe you just develop a love of jump rope that you didn't know you had, and you're like, okay, well, now I incorporate this into my routine, like, whatever. And this I lost my train of thought. I started thinking about jump roping. But like, this particular artist had told him to just pick one type of art. Like, he's like, draw. You do a lot of different things. Just draw. And when you focus on one specific thing, you get really good at that one specific thing. And I think it's true of no matter what you decide to do. And you either develop a love and passion for it, or you don't. And then move on to the next thing. Don't try to be good at like 10 different things, because you're only going to do those so good. Like, it's going to be like, you get like a B for every, like a B plus for everything you do, where you could be like an A plus and everyone can love you for like one thing that you do. And I found that interesting too, because as a makeup artist, I follow so many Instagram accounts and stuff, and I don't really like to watch YouTube makeup tutorials, but one artist I had followed for a long time, and she's got thousands and thousands of followers, and she doesn't have a YouTube, and I thought that was so weird. and she just focuses on Instagram. That's all she has. She just has an Instagram, and she puts all her content there. She engages with her followers there, and that's how she has a following. And you think about it, like, oh, like, I feel like it's easy to kind of disregard like influencers on Instagram or whatever, but they've literally put their focus on Instagram. And look at them go. Like, that's why we have so many like YouTube stars and Insta famous people. And it's funny now that we're all stuck at home that celebrities are now like doing their own little YouTubes and their own little like TikTok videos and stuff. You get like a glimpse into how we're all just, we're all just trying to entertain ourselves. Yeah. But besides like and drawing and I think getting started with anything, like, I like to read too, and I have so many books, but I don't know the last time I finished a book.
Yes.
But reading is so good for so many different reasons. It's like it helps strengthen your brain, because when you read it, you're completely focused on just reading and the story and the characters, and you have to remember who these characters are and where they came from for like order for the story to make sense. And so you have to like to stick with reading it. Like, if you stick, like, I know I've done this. I used to love Stephen King books. Like, after reading so many, though, I was like, okay, I know your style. Like, I know what's gonna happen now. But but then he's got so many complex characters and stuff sometimes that you're like, I forgot about that girl on the farm, like, from chapter 1 that he only mentioned for 2 seconds, and now, you know, she's in this part of the story. And if I stopped reading it, I wouldn't be able to remember. So when you read books, like, it helps strengthen your brain. It actually helps increase your empathy, which I found interesting. It's you've built an investment in these characters. Like, you care about what happens. It's kind of like watching an intense movie. And I think movies can make you cry. Like, I mean, Will Smith makes me cry. If he cries, I cry. I do. And like, honestly, it was like, I don't really feel like I know it's fantasy, but when you get wrapped up in a story, like, you create this empathy for the characters, and you really want to see, like, things go well. But also helps build your vocabulary. Can't even say it. But it helps build it. And I know, like, that's so true for me. Sometimes I'll read a book and I'm like, okay, they're using this word. It's a very descriptive word. And using context clues, probably figure out what it means. But I will just quickly go to dictionary.com and be like, what is this? Tell me. And then try to use, when you use words more frequently in conversation, then it just becomes part of your vocabulary. And then also it helps alleviate depression, because it just takes you out of your head. It takes you out of all the thoughts that are racing through your mind. And when we get stuck in these negative self-talk loops, that's when we really get depressed. And it's why it's so important to do, like, a little bit of physical activity, to have your daily routine, even if it's really simple. Like, they say the most successful people have really good morning routines, and honestly, it can be 2 minutes. It could just be drinking that glass of water first thing and reading some affirmations, or writing down what you want to do, like a to-do list. Then it's like off your brain, you kind of centered yourself, and then you got your day started. So reading is good, and I want to do more of that, and I have more time to do it now. So
I know at the beginning of this year, I usually don't really do resolutions. I'm not really that kind of person where my resolutions don't usually start in January. They usually start in September on my birthday. I'm like, my birthday is when my year starts over. But this January I was like, well, I mean, it's not really a resolution, but one way I want to improve myself as a person is to read more. I used to read all the time. When I was a kid, I was the weird kid that I used to sit up against the water fountain in the middle of the hallway and read, right? I don't know why that was.
You were that kid? I know that kid.
I was that kid, yeah. I was wearing a hoodie and I was reading a book. Like, that's, if you wanted to find me, that's where I was. And I realized I hadn't read a book in, like, oh gosh, aside from Audible, I listened to a lot of audiobooks, but I hadn't physically actually read a paper book in probably like 2 or 3 years. So I made it my resolution to read more books this year and read at least 5 total. I'm 2 books in right now.
Hey.
Yeah. So I'm already on to a good start. But now, more than ever, we have that time. We have that time to sit down and actually read and appreciate the art that is reading, like writing. I mean, literature is such a huge art form, and I was in love with it. Like, oh gosh, clear through high school, I was in love with literature. I took all of the advanced placement literature classes I could get. I mean, any book I could get my hand on, I just devoured it. And now I'm like, well, I have even more time to read. To rekindle that love.
Yeah. Yeah, now it's like a good time to incorporate, art and reading into your routine. I mean, you got so much time. I mean, Lord knows we could be Netflix zombies.
Absolutely. And as much as I vouch for Netflix being a reasonable brain cleanse and a good relax tool, I definitely have had to find ways to fight my binging habits. It's become quite the habit.
Yeah, well, it's easy. Is you're like, okay, cool. Like, I can watch a whole season of one show right now.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's how I really think that all these things are super great, and they're things that I know we recommend, but we're working on too.
Yeah. We're always, every single one of us is a work in progress constantly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not about the end goal, it's about the path getting to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's pretty much all we have for you guys this week.
Yep.
So, until next time, guys, thank you.
Bye!
Bye!